And it is time for the social hour. This morning we're discussing, is spying on your partner a sign of insecurity, or are they being cautious, or do they love you too much to be that afraid to lose you? And of course, excuse me, joining me on the show is Pastor Kibuga.
Thank you.
Sorry, who is a member Joshua Generation Trust, actually facilitated Joshua Generation Trust, and of course Eleka Mbidi, who is a marriage counselor at Amani Counseling Center.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good to have you guys on the show.
Thank you.
Is this something you're familiar with from a personal perspective? Spying on your partner. It's okay. We will not judge you. We're just asking. And sorry, just before you respond, we're giving you a chance to be part of this conversation. Tweet us at K24TV, at ChegaTM, at Racing with the double S. Pastor Kibuga, you're on Twitter, Facebook?
Yes, Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook,
Yes.
Pastor Kibuga?
Yes. At the Joshua Generation Trust.
Search for Joshua Generation Trust in case you've got a question for Pastor Kibuga. And of course, Eleka, are you on Facebook, Twitter?
No, I'm not.
Probably you should.
I imagine I should, yeah.
And of course,
I'm
engage us in this conversation. You can
Yeah.
also SMS us on 20001. And we'll give you a chance to call in live. Our numbers will be on our screens shortly. As you do that, let's engage them. So I'd ask you whether this is something you're familiar with from a personal point of view.
Well,
It's okay.
my wife is not spying on me.
Have you ever spied on someone in your life? Say before you got married, before it all got serious.
Not really.
Not really means yes.
No, not exactly. It's not something that maybe on a personal level that I've come across in terms of I'm spying on my wife or she is spying on me. But of course, it's a common phenomenon that's going on.
Say before
these
you got
days.
married. I know when you're married, it's tricky to say you did spy on her. So
Actually,
when you're just dating.
Yes, even when we were engaged and planning to get married and planning the whole thing, I think it goes back to certain root issues or fundamental issues, because I'm sure as we'll get into the topic, part of what results in the spying each other is the mistrust, the lack of trust. And so once there is credibility in terms of you have trust, and which is rock solid, it's anchored on something that is stable, then it eliminates the whole issue for checking out on each other, because you know you can trust each other. Yes.
Eleka, do you relate to this on a personal point of view? I can see you're married.
Yes,
but
I'm married.
Say before you got
Mr.
married
Billy.
and when you're just dating and you want to see what is this guy up to?
To be honest, not anything I can remember. But now that you ask me, maybe the closest I went to spying, I'm not quite sure it's spying. I was definitely not going to get married to somebody I didn't know adequately. So in addition to just getting to know him directly, I remember talking to one or two people that I knew him. I'm not sure that's spying. In any case, I can't even remember the issue of, even the gadgets of spying, like mobiles, and then, we hardly use them. To be honest, it was more of me just asking him directly certain things.
You've brought in a very interesting perspective, and probably I would like to throw it at Pastor Kibuga.
Yeah.
It depends on what we call spying. So for her, asking people about so-and-so is not spying. Is it something you can relate with? Did you ask people about her?
Well, we are social beings. So if you'll call that spying, of course, she too has her own friends, her own network. But I think it would be more of open talk. Why I would say why I wouldn't use the term spying, because spying would almost imply the other person is unconscious, and even as I ask you about her, it's supposed to be a secret. You're not supposed to know.
So it's the intention of asking.
Yes. So it wasn't anything being done per se behind her back. Because, we want to maintain openness, transparency. And so not any question that I wouldn't ask in her presence. So, of course, you get to mingle with the family, friends, colleagues, but not so much interrogating to find out, so who really is she? But just open talk. Yes.
So you guys are the best people out there. You don't spy,
We try our best. But again, it takes us back to the issue of what foundations do you have when you're building a relationship? Because the truth is, you see, it's like if we were to use the analogy of building. If you began building a story house, 5-story house, and you discover that the foundation had cracked, as you keep building up, you'll always have that thing in the back of your mind. This thing may come down from time to time. So there will be those levels of anxiety, worry, etc, etc. But then if you knew you had strong, credible foundations, then you can keep going up. Other people will be asking, aren't you concerned? But you are aware of the kind of foundations you had. So you know we are anchored, this thing is not going down. Yes.
So when we talk about spying in the context that we have put it in this morning, what exactly are we meaning? People who are going out of their way, say, to fix cameras or to try and connect your phone or divert, say, calls or text messages so that they know everything that happens in your life. How do you understand spying, Eleka, in today's context?
Okay. In my view, there's a lot of use of technology. Even on comp, I can monitor without my husband, as Pastor is saying, he doesn't know what's happening. But quite often it seems to me there is a need being met. There's a need that is being met, but in a sense, I'm not able to be upfront with my spouse. So maybe where is he going? What is he doing with his finances? What relationships is he into? But it seems to me the need has to do with maybe myself, as a person, maybe internal, but there could also be external in terms of even my relationship with Billy. So spying brings in the connotation of he's not aware. In fact, I'm actually intruding. I don't have his permission. It's not positive. It's not positive. It's maybe even a reaction to what I would say maybe behaviors of concern from himself. But for some reasons, maybe I'm not able to discuss that with him. It may be about me, but there is also a possibility that my relationship with him also fuels that. So I wouldn't just say it's just about me, insecurity, or even anxiety, or just suspicion, although that could be part of it. Also mistrust could also be part of it. But sometimes it could also be the way I relate with my husband and the way he also relates with me. So in a sense, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying those are some of the factors that I hear, because it's a common phenomenon. In fact, perhaps it's also subtle. Sometimes we may not think we are actually intruding or spying, but we actually are.
Are we saying, Pastor Kibuga, that it's wrong to spy on your partner?
Actually, going back to...
Not wrong morally, but it is not right to spy.
Even going back to what Mrs. Mbithia said, I would look at maybe two main causes for spying before we get to really the justification, is it right or wrong? One, and I think the one that takes the biggest percentage, would be the whole issue of faulty foundations, mistrust and wrong values. Preparation into marriage maybe was not done properly or thoroughly, and so you always feel the need to watch your back to make sure is he or is she doing the right thing. So that is one. But the second thing again would be which maybe would be the one that would look justified if there have been signs. You see, if for example you've seen your spouse behaving in any suspicious way, showing disinterest or taking phone calls, running outside, or just seeking to maintain privacy beyond the norm, then of course natural human instinct would cause someone to get into things like that. Having said that, then the justification for spying then will be dependent on either of the two. Again, if I were to go back to the first cause that I said, I think majorly because we're talking amongst spouses, so we're talking within the context of marriage. So majorly, I think I would say a lot of the biggest reason why spying exists, and I must admit I'm not shocked about it. In fact, I think we should expect it in today's society, is because the preparation for marriage as an institution has not been done well, has not been done thoroughly. And so you'll find courtesy of several arms, of course from the church end, where training is not being done thoroughly. I mean, no one is born. I'm looking at a typical scenario where you have two individuals who've met. They've never been married before. They've not attended maybe proper school or proper courses, classes on what is marriage all about. Maybe all they know is what they've seen maybe from media, movies, seen weddings, and all manner of stories. And so it sort of like makes them think they are ready for it. And then when they enter, they realize, wow, I don't think I was really ready for this thing. And my spouse comes late. Am I really sure that what she's saying is true? And then also consider that because of that lack of preparation, together with everything we see on TV. I asked some friends just the other day about this whole issue of spying on each other. And they told me, for example, there's a show taking place every day, I think on radio, and where the topic is who was caught cheating on their spouse. Now, that's only on radio. On TV, we have several shows, both on local and on cable TV, that are going on the issue, who was caught and all this. So it's palleting people. And when it's palleting people who already have shaky foundations, then it's just an accident.
But is there a time where spying is actually meant for good, that you really value this person so much, you love them so much, you do not want to lose them? Eleka. Or you're afraid anything might happen. So you just want to be sure. It's like buying insurance. You're not saying you'll be driving your car recklessly, but you're saying in case it does happen.
Can I, with your permission, just go a little bit? In terms of preparation of the marriage, I think my colleague here has said it. I want to add another part in terms of preparation. It may not even be only about the training for marriage as it were, but what about myself? Like, could be, I even have experiences, not that I have, thank God, but there are some of us who are coming from a lot of painful families, issues to do with they've seen their parents cheating on each other. They've gone through so much pain. It's like, in a sense, they needed help. They needed, I don't mind saying candidly, counseling for themselves in terms of their own emotional health, in addition to spiritual and maybe training. So they needed that preparation as persons, just to be psychologically ready for marriage. It didn't happen. So you can imagine I have my own emotional baggage from my past. And that, if it's not dealt with, especially before marriage, or as I even enter and I'm in marriage, then, there is always that thing in the air, like, I know my father kept on cheating on my mom, and in a sense, it's so difficult for me to imagine it won't happen in my marriage. So, in other words, I am actually psychologically not ready to sustain or even to begin and sustain the relationship of marriage. I'm not ready, sincerely, which is quite ignored. Okay, I know there is premarital counseling, but I'm afraid we need maybe to look at how does it happen, who does it, is it adequate, do we need a bit, more than just getting ready in terms of finances, the wedding.
How long, before you continue, how long does premarital counseling take place, Pastor Kibuka, then for her to continue, so we know what time frame, is it sufficient? Ordinarily, is it 1 month, 2 months?
It varies from church to church. There are places you'd have maybe 3 weeks, other places you'd have it up to maybe 6 weeks. So it varies.
So at least 2 months or 3 months?
Roughly, give it maybe anywhere between 1 to 3 months.
All right, and Leka, from where you're sitting, people who say have come from backgrounds where this has been happening to them, so it's something they have grown with. Is it something they can get rid of in 3 months?
That's exactly my point. That by the time, quite often, because thank God, the church normally would actually recommend, a counseling quite often in the pastor, and that's fine. In due respect to the same, I hope you hear that it may not be adequate because there could be deeper issues that cannot be looked at then. And let's also remember, by that time, people are already in love. You even wonder about the objectivity. It's like people are coming from, okay, let's finish and get going. We want to get married. As opposed to, am I even ready to actually accommodate a relationship? Therefore, I am saying that there are some of us who may need more than 3 months or the 3 weeks or the announcement time, around the time we are going for counseling. But back to the question you're asking, I'm just thinking it may not just be, is it right or wrong? Maybe we need to look at what need is it serving? And could there be other ways of meeting this need? Because maybe the need is, in addition to what I've just said, psychological, could it be that in my relationship with my husband, for example, BV, are we able to table things? Are we able to put things on the table? Like when there is inadequate information, or I'm not happy, or I'm not sure, am I able to candidly discuss with him and meet that need that financially I don't understand how come our finances are gone. You know, what did we do? Or in terms of how come you are coming late daily, or how come you are looking rather smart on certain days. And, you know, in other words, am I able to share with him my concerns rather than the need to spy? But also it's the other way around. Is he honest with me to be able to explain in a way, not to defend himself, but to talk of concerns, you know, to relate as friends, where we are able to say, our relationship is not okay. Because otherwise the need may still be there. Because if I'm not getting what I would say support from my spouse, I'm not saying that that justifies me to spy, but it can be understood when somebody does it. But of course, we'll look at maybe possible negative repercussions.
I completely get what you're saying, probably before you make a rejoinder to what Eleka has just said. But is being inquisitive about something and spying more or less the same thing? There are those people who confuse that. When I tend to ask a lot of questions and I do not necessarily ask you, because it is human nature. If say I have done something wrong and you ask me, have you done this? In most instances, we never own up to our mistakes. So how will you ever know the truth if you don't investigate? Is spying investigating? And because investigating is getting inquisitive about something. Pastor Kibuga, as you make a rejoinder to what Alex said.
You see, there's a difference between inquiring and investigating. There's a clear difference. Because the truth of the matter is, and something that she also said, you see, inquiry is where we can have open talk, where I can ask you, like she said, you are smarter on certain days. Why do you answer the phone and always leave the room? Why are you becoming so, private and confidential, even when we are together? And we said we are together till death do us part. We share losses, we share profits, we share everything.
But there's personal
and so
space.
Why? Yes. But you see, even in that, that's why Resiani takes us back to the issue again of foundation. So when we got into this thing together, I thought the whole issue was two of us are becoming one. And so if we are becoming one in everything, we have children, we are planning a future. We have you see now where those things are getting us to, because all those things are just repercussions of moving away from values that should make the marriage institution work and solid. And so we are looking at the whole issue of, instead of what will drive me to investigate, is because we can't have open time for discussion, for truth. And where truth doesn't have to be, that I'm saying something because I don't want to offend you or I'm seeking to please you. Yes, we still maintain ethics. We still respect each other, love each other, but we confront each other with truth. Because if we fail to do so, you imagine, so we fail to make inquiry, then when you investigate, you find out that what you're investigating is true.
So
it's
that
broken
means you have to investigate at some point, because it is not every information you ask for I will give you truthfully.
That's why.
So you cannot do without investigating.
No, not really. Not
Sorry,
really.
we've got a call. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Tell us your name, where you're calling us from, with your question or comment.
Okay, I'm also from Mombasa.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it is advisable to spy your partner even though you are in a house.
Is it, say that again?
Okay, I'm saying this. It is advisable
Yes.
to spy on your partner
Yes.
when you are together in a house.
Okay. Thank you very much. Probably, Pastor Kibuka, you're saying something, then we can respond to his question.
Yes. I was saying investigation is not mandatory.
But it's necessary. That's what I'm trying to say.
Investigation comes in because there's been a collapse of systems.
Not necessarily.
It is. It is.
Say,
you know why? Let me
okay,
prove to you.
right.
Let me prove to you why. Because you see, if you are to have all things in check, and of course what we are dealing with today, we are dealing with a scenario. Of course, we are not dealing with perfect people. I'm not perfect. We're not dealing with perfect people, but we are saying that, look, relationship is not a man-made idea. Relationships were made to work. There's an architect behind relationships, and I think we can all say God is behind relationships, whatever faith you subscribe to. So you'll find there must have been in the mind of the architect of relationships, the parameters that if you use, it will make relationships work. I doubt that if you are to look at it, if we were to go to Adam and Eve, well, let's say they didn't have CCTV and all the apps we have today to investigate. But were they always watching each other to see what is she doing, what is he doing, what is he up to, etc., etc. And when you look at it, think about it. How come we have, even if we were to go into history, how come we can look back at history and we can see, yet in an imperfect state, where people are not always inquiring about each other, and in fact, their relationships would even go for longer. But if you look at it today, with modernization, which I think is largely responsible for the breakup of marriages and bringing all these things, spying today is an industry in itself, with all manner of things, applications, software, and all manner of things, and private investigators who have now expanded their job description. So when you look at it, their relationships would stay even longer. Today with modernization, it's breaking with so much input we have from media, from movies and all manner of things. I mean, you wake up every day and you are hearing a show on radio, who has been caught? Who was busted, who was found cheating. These are the reality shows people are watching. You will end up tomorrow thinking, what about my spouse?
No,
If
you
it's
see,
happening
the
all
only
over,
difference between those days and now is that they didn't have means to get to know. Now we do
They did.
have means.
They did.
Why should we stop to say want to clarify the truth? Because they say knowledge is power, but only knowledge is power when it's put into use. Say you have seen reasons to suspect indeed your partner is doing something malicious. Then
That's
you sit
different.
there and ask them about it. And of course they tell you have nothing to worry about, or everything is perfect. And you sit there and be pretty and believe what they're saying. You have to do a little bit of homework. Research will not hurt you.
If you've seen reason, that's different. If you've seen reason to believe, don't be foolish. Don't hide your head in the sand. And they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to follow other measures. Maybe see a counselor, talk it over, see family representatives. Then, in that case now, investigation may become, a necessity within that scenario.
Eleka, let me bring you into this conversation. Earlier on, you said that before you got married, you wanted to get married to somebody that you believed you knew. And you see, sometimes when, say, I speak to your family or the family of your husband, they can never say something negative about their son, just like your family cannot say something negative about their daughter. So that means you have to get information from other sources that are more or less neutral, that are on a middle ground. Is that spying? Would that qualify for spying? And isn't that necessary?
I would like to say that there is a very major difference between spying and maybe
getting information.
I wanted to qualify, and in fact, if you don't mind, let me just quickly talk about the personal space.
Yes,
Actually,
please.
spying is about intruding on personal space, and it's negative, to say the least, both for me and my spouse, especially because you said that knowledge is power, but unfortunately, it depends on the way the information or that knowledge is dealt with, which perhaps is a major issue when it comes to managing information that I find, because when I'm spying, what might I find? You see, am I even ready, again, to manage the information I might get through spying? Because the spying, like I said, I wanted to know a little bit about my husband, but at the back of my mind, I knew I may not get, 100%. Therefore, marriage, some people will say it's a risk. I say it is true. It's like I know I'm getting into something. I may never know fully about my husband. He has his own personal space. I would also want my personal space. But can I let go? Can I entrust him, to that right? Because surely I don't have to intrude on him so that I can. I mean, it doesn't make it any better for him and for me.
So wouldn't it be better if you had a chance to know everything about him before you got married? But this
you will respond.
It's not possible.
This you will respond when we come back. We're taking a short break. This is a social hour. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is K24 Alfajiri. We had a caller who actually called in to ask whether it is right for her to spy, for him actually, it was a man, to spy on his partner. From Mombasa, the caller from Mombasa, what would you say to that? Before you can respond to the question, of course, I also asked before the break.
Well, the basis for spying would be more circumstantial. I think I would advise, I wouldn't give it as a blanket statement that it is right or it is not right. It would depend on the case that he's dealing with. Is it a case where he's found reason to believe?
So you're saying, Pastor, that there are circumstances that would push you to spy on your partner?
To investigate and be able to investigate and find out. Investigate and find out. You know, investigation again is very different from spy.
No,
I think there are
just
terms.
calling it different things.
Yes,
It's the same thing.
but you see, in investigation, we can be able to put things on the table and say, I investigated and found this. What are the repercussions when you say, I spied on you? As opposed to I conducted an investigation. It looks more intelligent.
No,
it looks something.
It is just a different choice of word, because for me, spying gives me the information that you would not voluntarily give me, just like investigation does.
No, but investigation is something that can be tabled openly. Spying looks immoral. It looks criminal.
But even spying, when I get the information that you did ABCDA, I will confront you about it. Eleka wants to say something
quickly,
about this.
That I'm just thinking that there could be times, especially now, in our country, we've seen a lot of deaths, especially through marital and relationships. There could be situations where it would be useful to find out certain information, especially where there is abuse, where there is issues that could damage or damage persons or, spouses and children and family. So I wouldn't say that there's no room to find information without necessarily the permission or, feeling like I'm doing whether the right or wrong. And that's why I agree. It's not about right or wrong. We look at what exactly is the need. Is the need because of safety, my children's safety? That I would go for. In fact, when it comes to life issues, we definitely need to sometimes look for information rather than pose ignorant, because somebody somewhere might actually die. Yeah. So in that case, I think it's exceptional, especially in cases of abuse. Yeah. But we were just talking about when you're talking about information, other information where maybe life is not in danger. That, in my view, can be dealt with differently. Yeah.
So do ladies spy more than men, Pastor Kibuki? Sorry.
Well, I don't know what the statistics would be, but I would tend to think, of course, with the way men have carried themselves largely in society. Of course, it's not a blanket statement, but maybe on the women would tend to spy on their men. I mean, based on what we see.
It's okay, you do not have to justify.
No. I say that because, again, I want to be careful. It's not all men, but I guess there are more men than women who give their wives, their spouses reason.
So here, basically, you've said women spy more than men.
I think men are misbehaving more.
You're trying to kill one bird with two stones.
I think men are misbehaving. You know why? It's a big issue. No, really, it is a big issue. Because when you look at it, I hope I won't get into a fight with this, but it would be good to tackle this. Men, in many ways, I know they say mothers are, without mothers help society be what it should be. But men are the foundation. And so, we were speaking during the break and we said, how do you do a 3-month counseling or 3-week counseling, preparing these young people to get into marriage, and they are coming from a family setup where they never saw marriage, relationship being modeled properly, you see. And so, and when you look at it many more times than not, it goes back to the men. If the men play their role, fathers play their role and show how man is supposed to carry himself, how families are to be run, how to take care of the women, the relationship. You would find many more times the ladies look up to the men. The sons also look up to their fathers.
Eleka, do you agree that women spy more than men?
I would have said that 10 years ago. Now, with technology,
things have changed.
And also working with a number of younger generation, like we are talking about the early 30s, I would think differently.
That men spy more?
Maybe it's a method, with the computer, with the technology. I get almost, maybe we are almost equal, but I haven't done a research, so I have to be very careful. But it seems to me right now, perhaps we are almost 50-50, because now, even the men, because some of them, they may not be able to be upfront, you know, there is a way they can still get the information, and even you won't know they get it. So how do I know? It's because of the what I encounter, not just as a person, but in terms of my work. Yeah.
And looking at Pastor Kibuga's perspective, do you think men give women more reason to spy on them? Do you agree?
I would just say that there is, generally speaking, this is not, it's a blanket statement, which is not very good, but generally speaking, you might, okay, I know there are some men who are very detailed in terms of their operations, but women, we tend to be more detailed, generally speaking, and somehow, therefore, you can imagine that there is some particular information that our men may not even give too much thought, as it were, unless there is a major reason, logic, you know, to look for information. But for women, we are what we call process-oriented. It's like we want the details.
Anything little.
Yeah, anything little. Sometimes we make a big issue, even without knowing. So it's like, for some of the women, because it disturbs them. Remember, there is myself, the internal, but also the external, the relationship. So for some women, they may have that need. If they are not able to have a forum where they can deal with it in a healthy way, they may spy just because of their need. Yeah? I'm talking about generally speaking. And then some things happen too fast. And for women, because we are process-oriented, we may just be looking at things that happened yesteryears. You know, we are just too much.
We
too
keep
different.
records.
Yeah, we keep records.
incubate.
And then the men, they're already
Very
moving.
good historians.
They're already moving.
Yes.
So in a sense, it may also look silly for me to go ask my husband certain things because he's moved, you know. So I may find the need to even unearth things that, you know, basically are gone. So from that perspective, but I repeat, it's generalization.
I'm trying to link, sorry, before you respond to that, Pastor, I'm trying to link insecurity and spying. There are those people, I have encountered people who say, if every time I try to do something, my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend does not sound concerned that, oh, you're going out today to meet your friends, then that means they're not that into me. That means they don't love me. So for them, when you spy on me, you're really scared to lose me. That means you really love me. Do you understand this school of thought?
It's a faulty value system. You see, relationships are built on trust, not suspicion. It's not suspicion that I suspect you may be into something.
No, I don't suspect. I want you to pretend you're suspecting
See,
to act
why
as
pretend?
so that I know.
You see,
These are people out there who are living like this.
this is how I treat it. Many times more than not, the main reason for spying is because of mistrust. The whole insecurity thing, it boils down to mistrust. Why not strengthen trust? Trust in the sense of, I don't have to validate my love for a person by always hanging around and snooping on them, checking out on them. And then when look at the repercussions. So when they catch me and then I tell them, oh, I just wanted to let you know I care about you. You care about me? Do you have to prove you care for me by spying on me? There were other ways. You would have called me and asked me, oh, where are you? Are you having a good time with your friends? Can I pick you? As opposed to, some of these other very...
So you're saying you can be diplomatic about spying and not make it look like it's actually
No,
spying?
I don't know why raciality is going to diplomacy and all these things.
I think
values. Let's go back to trust. Build trust. And you know where the genesis of it all is. It's just, how did we enter into this relationship? How you enter into a thing determines how you sustain it, how you run it.
All right, let's talk about the repercussions of spying on people.
Okay.
What can it do to you? Does it do you more damage than good, Alaka?
Yeah, in my view, in fact, if I love you, it's better that I know you better. I get to know what do you really appreciate, in terms of what does love mean for you. I may think it's just about flowers. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's other actions, that make you feel loved. So when I actually get out of my way because of my concern for you to spy on you, it really turns out badly. Some people will feel so invaded, talk about personal space, feel so invaded, so violated. In fact, it can be very negative to the other person, apparently. The person that I'm spying on, it may make things more complicated. And I said earlier that what about if I find, like maybe I'm on maybe even smartphones. These days we can do that. And then I find that maybe my husband is I thought he's relating with a certain woman. And I find out that it is true. And in fact, maybe he's relating with yet another one. You know, I'm just giving an example. How do I manage that information? That is, in my view, the reason why sometimes, because we can't deal with this information, we might even hurt each other. I may hurt myself. Maybe it's too much for me. So maybe I just destroy myself, you know, because it's too much. Or I destroy him, maybe revenge missions and that kind of thing. So it seems to me it's not worth it. Number two, energy. The amount of energy and other resources that I use, sincerely speaking, I don't think they are worth, you know, they are worth my getting into spying. Because in a sense, I'm using energy, I'm using, you know, I'm alert, you know, I'm so alert, you know, trying to find out what is happening. Really, snooping is true, you know. So it's not worth it in terms of the health, you know. I could use that energy to build trust, work on values, improve our communication with my spouse in a positive way so that I can deal with the concerns that I have rather than the other one, because the other one is negative.
Elka, allow me to challenge what you just said.
That's fine.
You just said based on the example that you have given. Does the fact that I ignore not knowing what is happening stop it from happening? And this is probably the example I would give you. Say, a lot of people would say, I do not want to take an HIV test because if I do know I am sick, I will die faster because of despair than by actually the real cause of the disease. But isn't it prudent to know so that you can start taking the required measures to ensure that you live longer?
I think before the break we had actually said ignorance is not the way home either. We had said there are certain times where there are serious issues that need to be addressed, and hiding them under the carpet doesn't help. Not at all. But if, for example, I'm suspecting that my spouse is into infidelity, is to just head on, deal with that. Yeah, because there must be, perhaps, hopefully, reasons why I'm thinking my husband is moving out. The idea, I think the challenge that we have here, even some men or some women, what they do, they have maybe had some information, they deny it, they ignore it, and then they, in the process, start snooping or spying. Why not just deal with that information? If I had it, I mean, we can work on, we can discuss that, we can put it on table. This is what is coming out. So it's not about ignoring. No. We need to be realistic. We are not talking about denying. No, because in fact, that is a problem.
Pastor, sorry.
I'm done.
You take on repercussions.
That's okay, I'm done. Okay.
Well, of course, I would agree with what my sister said. The repercussions will be more damaging in many cases than building. Because the truth is, when, for example, you come across the fact that what you are investigating on, you found maybe your spouse was really cheating on you. I mean, what are the hopes of the marriage or the relationship lasting? Because after that, you'll be thinking, the person could bring me HIV. The person could, I mean, with the matrimonial bill we have now, we just end up dividing everything. It goes, I worked so hard with my partner and it's all been scattered away. So it's more damaging. But I would say this on the same tune, that of course, this thing will bring us back again to the fundamental issues.
As you give your final thoughts as well, because time is up. Yes.
All right. It brings us back again to the fundamental issues. And what I would say is this, it would be better to have fewer marital relationships with less heartache than to have more marital relationships with a lot of heartache. Many people are getting into marriage, they are not prepared for it. In fact, there is even a scripture in the Bible where it says it's even better not to be married than it is to be married. Why? Because you need to know what it is you are getting yourself into. I would say this. I would consider marriage just like running a company, running an organization. You don't run an organization by mistake. You prime it, you prepare everything within it to be successful. If we would approach relationships the same way, whether you are dating, engaging, you are courting, or you are married, if you look at it, this is an institution. And you look and we say, we want to make this thing successful. So from the word go, let's make sure we have the key fundamentals in place let's have trust, let's have communication, let's have proper vision, let's have a proper bearing what our life is going to consist of, what environment do we want to bring our children into, what values do we subscribe to as individuals. If we would have that, we would have more proper marriages. Last but not least, I'd like also to make an appeal to media, and K24 I think are trying. I watched a show the other day, Couples Show. And I say this because there is already a lot of negativity from media that is breaking relationships and creating all this mistrust. There are so many programs that are culturing and conditioning people to break trust. I watched this show the other day, and of course that's a good incentive. 100,000 Kenya shillings.
For knowing your
To
partner
know your
is
spouse.
actually your job.
Yes.
Lovely.
So if we would have more programs like that, programs that are building marriages, use your energy, like she said, your resources, everything towards building and strengthening, not depleting and destroying. Thank you
Very
for the
well
opportunity.
said. Aleka, very briefly, final thoughts on
I
this.
believe in marriage from my own experience. However, it's not for cowards. It's for people who are willing to even know information and deal with it head on and grow as a result. In my view, pain can resort to growth. Things that I may not know, and I may never know everything about my partner, but as I know them, maybe through like the open talks we are talking about, am I willing also to grow as a person? And even sometimes, as we said, like we get into marriage, it's for worse, for good. So there could be things that I'll find the other side. Am I ready to deal with that for my growth, but also for the growth of my partner, and indeed for the community? So in my view, marriage is not just about me and my husband and my children. It's about community. It's about the society. And we can grow together. Yes, let's be more positive about
Thank you very
marriage.
much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
positive energy is a key
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
The law of attraction, you attract what
Yeah.
you think of. And of course, probably this is one thing I would say. They say ignorance is bliss, but only when the knowledge of God is not involved. This is
Right,
the Social Hour. Do stay with K24 Alfajiri. We will be back shortly with another interview.